In this lesson, let's take a look at some of the built-in test commandlets that are available in Exchange Server 2010 for you to use in PowerShell for testing the health of your servers, for diagnosing problems, all with the speed and efficiency of that PowerShell interface. So I'm logged on here to one of my hub and mailbox servers, Cmdlets. I'm just going to walk you through a couple of my favorite test commandlets. Now, there are quite a few test commandlets that ship with Exchange. You can have a look at all of them by running get command -verb and look for commandlets with the test verb. And you can see there's quite a few of those there. Now, some of these can only be run automatically by monitoring tools. Others require some special prerequisites, such as setting up a test CAS user for some of the connectivity tests. But there's just a handful of them that I use on almost a daily basis when it comes to quickly troubleshooting issues, particularly where you've had vague reports of email related issues from your users. The first one I like to use is test service health. Now, I have no chance of remembering all of the different services associated with the different Exchange server roles. It's not as simple as saying it's all the ones with the keyword Exchange in them, because there are actually some other services that various Exchange roles depend on, such as ISAdmin, the W3 service, WinRM. So rather than try and commit all that to memory, I just use this test service health commandlet. What that will do is it will roll through each of the installed roles on the server, and it will make sure that all of the required services are running, that there are no services that are not running, and it gives you this true or false result. So you can also run it against remote servers. So I'll run it against my server BNE-EX1, and in this case the mailbox server role has a required services running value of true. The client access server role has a false result because it's got one service not running, this MS Exchange file distribution service, and the hub transport server role is also true. So I was able to quickly discover that one of the required services is not running, and I've done that quickly and easily from PowerShell here. I didn't have to log on to BNE-EX1, open the services console, look for auto-started services related to Exchange that aren't actually running at the time. So I've saved myself quite a lot of time there, and while I'm still here in PowerShell, I can just go ahead and invoke a command on BNE-EX1 to start that service, MS Exchange FDS. And if I run that test service health against it again, this time I get 3 true results. Simple as that. The next command that I enjoy using is test MAPI connectivity. So I'll just run that on the local server, which happens to be a mailbox server, and there is one database, and what it will do is do a MAPI connection to that database and report a success or fail result. Now, you can run that against multiple mailbox databases at once by simply running, say, get mailbox database and piping that into test MAPI connectivity, and it will go through and test all of the mailbox databases in your organization. So that's really useful if you've got multiple sort of vague reports that people are having trouble accessing their mailbox, but you may have quite a lot of mailbox databases that you manage. Some people have hundreds and thousands of mailbox databases that they manage. So this one simple command that will roll through each of those mailbox databases and give you a success or failure type result. And a failure result certainly stands out. So if I dismount one of those databases, don't need to do it twice, and run that test again, and this time we get a failure on mailbox database through, and it even gives us the reason that the database is dismounted. So I didn't even have to look further into that and say that and log on to the server or do any other checks. You can also see whether the MAPI latency was particularly high, and some other issues that will crop up there as well. So I'll just mount back that database. Make sure they're all clear. Excellent. Alright, the next one that I'll quickly show you is test mailflow. So again, if you run that just locally on the server, it will do a mailflow test on that server itself. And you can see here it says is remote test false because it's doing a local test only. And we have very low message latency on this local test and a result of success. And of course you can run that against remote servers. So I'm on SID EX3 at the moment. Let's run it against SID BNE EX1. And we can also run it against or between two different remote servers. So let's say test mailflow BNE EX1 to the target mailbox server SID EX4. So both of those servers that I'm testing are not the server I'm currently logged into. You can see this is remote test value has come true, and the mailflow result is success. So I've actually tested mailflow between these two mailbox servers while logged onto a third mailbox server. And if you want to get really specific, you can even test mailflow from a server to a target email address, such as Alan Reed, our good mate. And that was successful. Let's see what happens if we go to an invalid email address. There we go, we get a failure result. In that case, you can go ahead and try something like that if you want to. It actually took several minutes for that message to time out, so just be patient with it because it does wait quite a while before it will return that failure result. Now the last commandlet that is useful is test replication health. This is one that you need to run on mailbox servers, and basically it checks all of these different tests here for you which relate to the replication health of a database availability group member. So for example, is the cluster service running, has the DAG got quorum, is the file share available, etc, etc. Copy replay queues, are they okay? And you get all these different results saying pass, 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 pass. And these are pretty important because an unhealthy DAG can start to unravel and cause you some pretty serious issues around the integrity and the recoverability of your data in different scenarios. So this is something you may want to look at checking on a periodic basis, or even writing a little script for to do those checks for you. So there you have it. That's just 4 of the most useful test commandlets in Exchange 2010 PowerShell, or at least the 4 that I use most often when doing initial troubleshooting and diagnostics for reported issues, and in many cases for proactive kind of health monitoring as well. So go ahead and get familiar with those 4, and maybe try out some of the other test commandlets that you'll see. Once again, if you run get command verb test. And don't forget, you can use get help to view the help information. In fact, one of the easiest things to do is actually to use the online parameter, and that will open up a web browser for you, take you to the TechNet page for that commandlet, which tends to be a little bit more readable and easier to go through. So that brings us to the end of that lesson. As I said, please dig into those test commandlets and try them out for yourself. I think you'll find them actually really useful.